Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to talk about Material UI React tutorial. Myself Mohammad Zubair and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT pro really fast. So without any further ado, let's get started. So now let's start with setting up our Material UI for our system and let's have its environment up and running. So for that purpose, I'm using Visual Studio Code, and along with that, we need to make sure that React.js or Node.js basically is installed into our system. So first of all, let's open our Visual Studio Code. Here it is. And now we need to install Node.js into our system. So I'll just open Node.js. So here is my Node.js. I'll just install this one. Click on next. This is the directory where it is going to get installed. I'll click on next. Again, I'll click on next. And we just need to click on this install button. And here it has started the installation process. After we are done with this installation, we need to open our command prompt. So I'll just search for command prompt. Here it is. Just make sure that you open it as an administrator. Now, from here we are done with the Node.js setup. I'll just click on this finish button. Now what we need to do is we need to install the React app module that will create and deploy the React.js into the project with a single command effortlessly. And the command for that is npm space install space -g space create -react -app and just hit enter. It will take a little bit of time, so be patient and let it get complete. We are done here with this installation and now we can check its version as well. Command for that is create -react -app space -version and hit enter. So here you see the version is 5.0.1. And after that, now we need to create our first app that we are going to use for the Material UI. So for that purpose, first of all, I'll go to the directory where I want to create my app. First of all, I'll go to my D directory. After that, there I have a folder with the name of new folder, and in that I have a folder with the name of React. And here it is. So I'll just hit enter. Now I'll create an app in this particular folder. Command for that is create -react -app. Give it a space and write the name that you want to give to your first app. I'll name it as Material UI. Hit enter. And make sure that the first letter of the name that you are going to give to your application should be small. After that, just hit enter. And now here it says creating a new React app in this particular directory. Let me go to the directory where I want to have this particular app. So here you see, here it is creating different files inside my Material UI folder that I have just created with the help of my command prompt. So let it get complete, and obviously it will take a little bit of time. So be patient. And after we are done with this one, and then I'll show you what do we have to do next. We are done here, and as you can see, we have all the files that were needed for our first app. Now let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. And now I'll open the folder where I have my first app. So here I have my React.js, and in that I have my first project as Material UI. So just select this one and we are good to go. Now, after we are done with this one, what we need to do, we just need to go to our source folder, and here we have our app.js, and basically we have to run one more command in here, and that command is npm start. But make sure to go into your Material UI folder, which is our React app. Hit enter, and now I'll write here npm space start, and it will start our project. And here you see it is up and running and we do not have any problem. So we are done with the setup of our React.js, Node.js and our Visual Studio Code, and now it's time to install Material UI. This is the official website of Material UI, and here if you see we have a command that will install Material UI inside our React.js project. So just copy this command or scroll down. Here you will see more options and more detailed information in here. We also have command at the bottom as well. Now to install our Material UI, I'll open another instance of my CMD. So I'll just search for CMD. Here it is. I'll open that one as an administrator. And in that one, I'll just paste the command. But before that, we have to make sure that we are into our directory where we have our project. So I'll go to my D directory, then into my new folder. After that, I'll go into my React.js folder, and then we'll go into our Material UI folder. After that, we just need to paste the command that we had copied earlier and hit enter. So here you see the process has started. Let it get complete and then we'll move ahead with the actual coding of our Material UI into our Visual Studio Code. So we are done with this one as well. Now I'll just close this one and now we are ready to go. So first of all, I'll just remove these things because I do not need them anymore. I'll just delete these one. I'll just save this. Now let's get back and let's see how does it look like. Well, here you see we only have the icon in here. Now first thing first, what we need to do, we need to import some of the Material UI component, but it depends what we want to use. So first of all, we'll start with the simplest of them all, and that is TextField. So for that purpose, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to import a component in here or a library. So I'll simply write here import space TextField, here it is. After that, here it says from Material UI. Yes, I want to import it from here. After that, at the end, let's have a slash in here and I'll write here TextField. And now we are good to go. So it means we are ready to use this particular component into our React.js project. Now to use it into our React.js project, so what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to call my text field. So I'll simply write here text field, here it is, and let's just close this one. So we are done here, and now inside that one we need to pass some of its functionality, or you can say some of its properties that we want to have into our project. So basically, let's see how does it look like without using any of its component or without applying any of the properties. So let's just save this program, and here if you see we have a small text box onto our page, and let's have some of its properties in here. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass a variant. Variant is something that will give some kind of shape to our text box. So what I'll do here, I'll simply call my variant in here and I'll pass the value as outlined. And let's save this one, and this is how it looks. At the moment, it doesn't look something very professional, and along with that we have a text in a black color. We also want to change this one. So how can we do that? Well, let's go back. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going in a file of app.css, and in here I'll put something. I'll write here input, here it is, let's have its body, and inside that I'll define a color as, let's go for white. And after that I want to make sure that whatever the color is there by default, I want to disable it. So for that purpose, I'll simply write here important, and it will negate this. Let's save this one. Let's go back to our app.js and let's go back to our browser. And now you see we have a text color in white. So whenever and wherever we are going to use text, it will be in white color. And now this time, along with variant, let's have some other properties here as well. So let me just do that like this one so that everything is more clearer and more easier to understand. And this time, let's go for color. Here it is. And let's give it color as secondary. Here it is. After that, let's have type. I want to have date type for my text field. So I'll simply write here date. Here it is. Let's save this one. And now you see we have text field as a date. So if you just click on this, it will also allow you to select a date dynamically. Let's go back, and I know that you might be wondering that where did we get these type of values which are outline, secondary and date. Let's go to the official website of Material UI. Here it is. And from here, just click on get started. And here you see on the left hand side, we have components API, we have components, and we have many other things. Just click on this components, scroll down, and here we have all the components that we'll get in Material UI. So as we have used text field, so I'll just click on this one, and you will see in here that we have outline, filled, standard. So basically these are the things that we can use in terms of the outline. Then down here, we have different kind of props that we can use as properties. If you scroll down, we have many other things that we can go for. Let me go back and let me go for the buttons. And from here, I'll show you that what were different things that we used in terms of the color. So basically, if you remember, we were using secondary, primary, and these kind of things. So basically, these were the color. Secondary was this color, success is green, error is red. So basically, these keywords will define different colors. And not only that, we can also define the sizes of our text field by using these kind of keywords, which are small, medium, large, and things like that. So that was a bit of introduction about that. Let's go back. And now let's have a label in here. So I'll simply write here label, and let's give some value to this label. So I'll write here equals, and inside my label, I'll write here enter your email. After that, let's have a placeholder. So I'll simply write here placeholder, and inside that I'll write here test at example.com. Let's save this one. And here we have placeholder, but it is still date type. Let's go back. We need to change this type to email. So I'll simply write here email. Now let's save this one. And now you see, as soon as I click onto my text field, this is how it's gonna look like. This is the placeholder, and here we have enter your email. At the moment, the size is very small. Let me just increase the size in here. And now everything looks much better. So this is how text field works. And that was all about the text field. And now let's move ahead and let's see how button works in our Material UI. So as we are going to use button into our React.js project, so obviously we need to import it as well. So I'll simply write here import button. Here it is. I'll just remove these brackets because it is not working perfectly in my case. In your case, it might work. After that, we need to mention it at the end as well. So we are good to go now. Now let's have button and let's insert it after our text field. So I'll simply call my button in here. Here it is. Let's close this one. Okay, there is one thing, and that is this button is from the React.js, but we want to use the one from the Material UI. So I'll write here capital B, and now we have the button from Material UI. Now inside that button, we can pass different properties, or you can say different hooks and things like that. So let's start with them one by one. First of all, let's have variant of this particular button. So I'll write here variant equals contain. It means what kind of button do we want. Let me just save this one. Let me go back to my browser. There is nothing here. And why is that so? Let's go back. Okay, there is a problem, and that is we are declaring our button inside our text field. So let me just cross this one and let me just close my text field. And now we are good to go. Let's save this one. And now you see we do have a button available in here, but I want it to have some other values as well. So here, if you see here, we have all the documentation available for the buttons in our Material UI, and this is how it's gonna look like. This is contained, this is disabled, and this is the link. So let's go back, and we do not have any value of the button in here, or you can say we do not have any kind of text onto our button as well. So for that purpose, I'll simply gonna write here click me. Let's save this one. And before we move back to our browser, let's have some other things in that. So for now, first of all, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to set its color. So for the color, I'm going with primary. After that, let's have its size. So for the size, I'm gonna go with large. And after that, let's just save this one. Let's go back. And this is how it looks like. As you can see, it is clickable and it is more responsive now. Okay, not only that, we can also make this button a link as well, just like HTML. But I will pass onClick method in here. How can we do so? Well, simply I'll write here onClick. Here it is. And inside that, I'll have its braces, and here I want to generate an alert, and inside that alert I want to have a message as clicked. Let's save this one, and now if I click on this one, we should get a prompt onto our browser. Here it is, and this is working pretty fine. So this is how you can do different things with your button. Now let's go back, and this time let's have some kind of icons onto our button. For that purpose, we need to import another library of Material UI into our system. But before that, we have to install it as well. So for that, obviously, we have to go back to our command prompt. First of all, make sure to go into your redirectory, and after that, we'll move to our new folder. And after that, I'll go to my React.js folder, and then obviously at the end, I'll go to my Material UI. And in that, I'll use the command as npm space install space @ material -ui /icons. After that, we just need to hit enter. This will install the needed libraries for the icons that we want to use into our buttons or with our button. So let it get complete and then we'll move ahead. We are done here, and in order to make sure that it works with our Visual Studio Code, we have to reload our Visual Studio Code. So basically what I'm gonna do, I'm going to close my Visual Studio Code and I'm going to reopen it. So we are back, and before we move ahead, I want to change the color in here. At the moment it is primary. I want to change it to secondary. So I'll simply just select this one and I'll write here secondary. And let's just save this one. So now what I want to have an icon at the end of my text onto my button. And I'm going to use send icon onto my button. So for that purpose, I'll import that one. So we are done here with the import of our send icon, and now let's use it into our button. So what I want here, I want to have an icon at the end of the text of my button. So I'll simply write here end icon, here it is. That will be equal to its braces, and inside that I'll call my send icon. So I'll simply use that one, hit enter, and let's just close this one. So I'll simply close this one and now we are good to go. Let's just save this. And here you see we have send icon on to our button. We can also place that at the start of our text as well. How can we do so? Well, let's go back. And basically instead of writing here end icon, we can write here start icon. Let me just copy this one. I'll just paste it down here and instead of end, I'll write here start. So here it is. Let's just save this one. And now you see we have two icons. Not only that, we can have different icon in here as well. Let's have a delete icon this time. And I'll just copy this one. I'll simply paste it down here and instead of send icon this time, I want to have delete icon. I'll write here delete icon and at the end I'll also have delete here as well. So I'll write here delete. Now let's just save this one and in here at the end of it, let's replace it with the delete icon. So I'll simply call my delete icon, which is this one. Let's save this one. Let's go back. And now you see we have delete icon at the end of it and send icon at the start of it. Why don't we use another button with this one? So let's go back. Let's copy everything for this particular button. Here it is. Let me just remove the extra spaces so that we can have more space to work with. And after that, I'll place it right here. And from here, I'll remove this one. I'll keep with the start one. And down here, I'll remove the start icon. And to differentiate between both of these, let's change the color of one of these. So for the second one, I'll go for primary instead of secondary. Let's just save this one and let's go back. And you see now we have two buttons available in here. First one is click me. Second one is also click me. First one have send icon and then second one have delete icon or discard icon. So this is how we can use buttons with the help of Material UI. Now, what if I want to group these two buttons together? So for that purpose, we have a component available that is called as button group. Let's go back and let's import it. So for that, what I'll do, I'll simply write here import button and down here we have button group available. So I'll simply click on this one and we are good to go. At the end of it, let's call it as button group as well. Here it is. Now we can group these two buttons together. So for that purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm going to import or I'm going to call my button group. So I'll simply write here button group, which is right here. And to close this one, I'll simply have its ending tag at the end of my second button. So let's just go down and let's declare it in here. So basically what we can do here is we can pass these values or pass these properties in the button group as well. For example, let's say we have some common values or some common properties. I'm talking about the color. For example, I have primary color for both of these buttons. So instead of declaring the color in both of these buttons, I can declare this particular property into the button group and that will be applied onto the whole buttons into my button group. So let's say I have hundreds of buttons. So all of those buttons will have primary color. So instead of declaring the color for hundreds of buttons, we can declare it only once in here. This is what I'm talking about. So even if I delete the color from this button and from this button as well, let's just save this one. Let's go back. And now you see we have applied the same color on both of the buttons by declaring it only once. And other than that, we have many other things that we can apply onto the whole button group. So that was all about the buttons, how can we use them and what are the different things that we can do with it and how we can have different properties that are associated with it. So that was all about it, and now let's move ahead and let's talk about the checkboxes and let's see how does they work. Well, as we know that we see checkbox in different forms and on different websites where we have to fill different kind of information. So we often use it when we have multiple choices and we have to select one of them or multiple of them. So let's see how can we use our checkboxes with the help of our Material UI. Again, it's a pre-made component, we just have to import it and use it. So I'll simply write here import and after that I will call my checkbox, which is right here, and here it is. After that, make sure to have it at the end of our statement as well. So from here I'll remove these braces because these are not working in my case and these are giving me some kind of error. It is not necessary that it will give you the same error that I'm getting. And as you can see, I haven't used these kind of curly braces in any of these import statements. So we are done with the importing our checkbox. Now it's time to declare it. Now, where do we want to declare it or where do we want to use it? Well, it's all up to us and all up to our requirements. Now, what I'll do, I'll just declare it above my buttons. So I'll simply call it here checkbox, which is right here, and I'll just close this one. Okay, either we can use it directly in here or we can also make a function for it as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a function and I'll show you that how we can use that with the help of a function. Now, I'll name a function as function my checkbox. After that, let's have its brackets, then we'll have its curly braces. Here we go. And obviously we should have a return statement here as well. And now we are done. Now you might be wondering that what do we have to give, or what will be the name, or what will be the value of our checkbox. Well, here we can pass that particular value. So either we can pass it directly or we can use a div inside our return statement. So I'll simply use a div in here, which is right here. Let's just close this one, and inside our div I'll write here checkbox. Let's just save this program and let's go back to our browser and let's see how does it look like. And here you see we have a checkbox, but we do not have a text in here. Why is that so? Well, let's go back and let's find out. Well, it is because we have called a checkbox a component in here, but we should have called our function that we have created in here. So I'll just copy this one and I'll place it in here. And other than that, I think we should also go for the capital name, because small characters shows that we are using a component from React.js. So I'll use capital M for my. Now let's save this and now let's check it. And here you see we have checkbox available and we have the text box available as well. And now let's go back and let's see what are different other things that we can perform with our checkbox. Now this time, instead of passing this value, let's pass a checkbox in here. So I'll simply call my checkbox. Here it is. Let's just close this one. And what we can do, we can pass different things, or you can say different properties into this one. So let's pass different things into this one and let's see how does it look like. So first of all, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pass here checked. What it will do, it will check if the checkbox is checked or not. Let me just pass some value in here. I'll use curly braces and I'll have something like checked. Let's save this one. And to have this value, we should declare it at the top of this particular function. So let's use a hook, and if you remember and if you have seen our React.js course video, we have talked about in detail that how we use different kind of hooks. So I'm going to use useState hook. So I'll simply call it here constant, and after that I'll name my hook and that will be checked. And after that I'll use set checked and it will be equal to react dot useState. Here it is, and in that I'll pass a value as true. And before we move ahead, we also have to make sure that we import React into our project as well. So for that purpose, I'll simply call import React. Here it is, from React. And after that, let's have another property in here. So I'll write here on change. So for that purpose, I have to make sure that I use capital C in here. On change, that should be equal to, and here we'll use a trigger. So I'll have my curly braces, and inside that I have my small braces, and then equals to, and here I'll create a trigger. So I'll write here set checked. Here it is, and inside that we'll pass an event, and that will be e dot target dot checked. Here you go. And we have to make sure that we also pass our event in here. And now let's just save this one. And here you see we have a checkbox, and when we click on it, it's changed its value and we have a tick mark in here. So it is working pretty fine. Other than that, we can have different other things in here. For example, we can change the color of our checkbox. We can make it disabled. For example, if I write here color, and let's pass secondary in here. After that, let's have it disabled. It means when we click on it, it will be disabled on its own. Let's just save this now. Well, now you see we have checkbox as disabled at this moment. Well, why is that so? Well, it is because we have used disabled property in here. If I just remove this one, and now you see we have checkbox back and we have its different color at this particular moment. So how easy it is. Now there are many other things that we can perform with this particular checkbox. For example, we can create more, we can have different props and things like that. And now let's talk about how we can design our different buttons, different checkboxes, and how we can have custom design for different things. So first of all, we need to import a library for that. And the command for that is import. And after that, we'll call our make style library. So I'll simply write here make style, here it is. And we'll import it from material UI/core. After that, I'll name it as styles, or you can name it anything. So we are done here. After that, what we need to do, we need to use a constant in here, and that constant will help us to customize, or you can say to have a customized design for our button. For this particular section, I'm going to design a button. So I'll write here constant. After that, we'll use style, and that will be equal to our make style that we have just imported. So I'll write here make styles, here it is, and let's have its braces, and inside that we'll have its curly braces as well. Now inside this one, we'll call we'll create our class that we create in our CSS styling. So I'll simply call my root in here, and that will be equals or colon, and in that we'll pass different values for our CSS styling. So for example, we can have background, we can have border radius, we can have color, we can have paddings and things like that. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, let's have a background for our button. So I'll simply write here background, here it is. And for that purpose, let's have colon, and in that I'll pass values as linear gradient, because I want to have some kind of gradient in the colors of my background. After that, I'll pass some values in it. So first of all, let's pass a degree. I'll go for 50 degree. And after that, let's have a comma. And now we have to pass colors that we want to use for the gradient. So I'll write here hash. And after that, I'll call my color name. We are done with the background, and now let's have some other properties in here. And this time I want to have some kind of border for my button. So I'll write here border, here it is. And for that purpose, I'm going with 10 as value. Let's have comma, and let's go to the next line, and this time I'm going for color. So I'll write here color, and that will be white in my case. So I'll go for white, here it is. And after that, let's go for border radius. So I'll go for border radius. And if you don't know, in material UI, we cannot use hyphen. And for that purpose, I'm going with 20 as value. And for the last value, I'm going for padding. So I'll simply call my paddings in here, which is right here. And after that, let's give it some value. I'll go for 25 pixel. So let's have single inverted commas. I'll go for 25 pixel. And we are done here with the design. And now what we need to do, we need to use this one into our code. So for that purpose, first of all, what we need to do here, we need to create a function that will help us to use this particular button. And now let's create a function that we are going to use for our button. So I'll declare a function in here, and I'll name it as my button. Let's have its braces, and after that, let's have its boundary. Now inside that, I'll use a constant as constant classes that will be equal to use style that we have declared at the top, which is right here. After that, inside that, we should have its braces, and then we should have semicolon. Let's hit enter, and now we should return a button as a response. So here it is. So I'll call a button in here, or we'll create a button in here. Here we go. And now inside this button, we'll use class name, or we'll use the class of the design that we have just created, which is right here. And name is root in this time. So what I'll do here, basically, I'll call my class name like this one, and that will be equal to curly braces, and inside that we'll call our class, which is classes dot root, which is this one. We are done with calling our class, and now what we need to do, we need to pass some value or label to our button that will appear onto our web browser when we load it. So what we need to do here, we need to give some name to our button. So I'll name it as my customized button. So we are done here. Now let's just save this one, and at the end we are left with one more thing, and that is where do we want to place this button onto our web page. Well, I want it to have at the top of my text field, or let's have it at the bottom of our other buttons that we created earlier. This is my button group, so let's have at the bottom of it. So I'll just call my function that I have created with the name of my button. So I'll just copy this one, I'll come here, and I'll just paste it, and now we are good to go. Let's just save this and let's go back to our web browser. And here you go, here we have a button that we have just created, and if you see, we also have a gradient in here, we have a label of button, and this is the size, we have padding, border and things like that. Well, I know that the size is much bigger. We can solve this one, but that is not the problem at this moment. What we wanted to do, we wanted to see how it's gonna look like when we create our own customized design for a particular component for our material UI. So this is how it works, and you can design anything like that. So here we are back into our code, and what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to change the size of my padding. I'm gonna go for 15, or let's go for 10. Let's save this now. And now you see we have decreased the size of our button. We can further decrease it. Let's go back, and this time let's go for 5, and let's save this. And at the top we have border radius, we have border and things like that. Let's go for border as 5 this time. Let's save this, and now you see we have some kind of padding, we have some kind of border radius and things like that. So this is how we can have our own customized design. So that was all about it, and now let's see what do we have next. And now let's talk about the radio buttons, and let's see how we can use that. Well, obviously first of all we have to import it, so that is why I'll simply write here import space radio. Here you go, and we'll import it from material UI/core. After that I'll write here radio just to make sure. Now we are good to go. After that we just need to create different radio buttons, and we are good to go. So I'll just scroll down at the bottom of my file, and I'll have my radio buttons at the bottom of my file. So basically what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to get out of my button group, which is right here, and here I'm going to declare my radio buttons. So the process is really simple. Simply I'll just call my radio buttons. So I'll write here radio, here it is. Let's just close this one. I'll just copy this one, I'll paste it one more time, and in that we just need to pass some values. So at the moment what I'm gonna do here, I'll write here value, and that will be equal to, you can pass anything in here. For example, let's say hello, and for the second value, for the second radio button, I'm going for value equals, let's go for world. Now let's just save this one. Let's go back to our browser, and here if you see we have 2 radio buttons available, and if I select any one of these I'm able to do so. But let's try to select both of them. Yes, we can select both of these, but this is not what we want, because we know that when we have radio buttons we only want users to have one option selected. But why is that so? And not only that, we also do not have any label for these kind of radio buttons, because if you remember we had hello and world as values. Why is that so? Well, for that purpose we have to use radio group to make sure that user is able to use only one option at a time. So let's go back to our coding file. Here it is, and inside that I'll use my radio group. But before that, obviously we have to import it into our program. So I'll simply write here import radio group, which is right here, and we are done here importing it. I'll remove these brackets from here because it doesn't work somehow in my case. So I'll just save this one. Now let's scroll down, and here I'll declare, or I'll call my radio group. So I'll simply write here radio group, which is right here. Let's just close this one, and I'll just cut it, and I'll paste it after my radio buttons. Now we are good to go. And now let's try to select one of these at a time. Yes, I can select this one, but let's see what happens if I select other one. Yes, now we are able to select any one of these at one particular moment. Earlier we were able to select both of these, and that was not an optimal solution. So we are done with the one problem, and now let's see how we can have the labels or some values for these radio buttons. Other than that, if you see, we have some kind of hover in it. So what we need to do, we need to keep these radio buttons in some kind of control or in some kind of container. So for that purpose, I'm going to use another component of Material UI. Let's go back, and this time I'm going to import form control label, which is right here. Again, I'll remove these braces from here. Let me just copy this one. I'll paste it at the end of it. Now we are good to go. So I'll just scroll down, and at the end of it, instead of using these radio buttons, I'll just remove this one, and inside that I'll declare, or I'll call my form control label. Here it is. Now let's just close this one, and inside that we'll pass different props. First of all, I'm going to pass control, and for the control I'm going to use a radio button. So I'll simply call my radio button in here. Let me just close this one. So here it is. After that, let me just close this one here like this. We are done with the declaration of our radio button. And after that, I want to have a label for this particular radio button. How can we do that? Well, simply call here label, and after that give it some value. I'm going to give it some value as, let's call it as option 1. Let's just save this and let's go back to our browser. Now here you see we have successfully created first radio button with the label as option 1, but it is not clickable. Why is that so? Well, it is because we have not given the value that we want in here when we click on this radio button. So let's go back, and in here we have to pass one more prop as value. So I'll write here value that will be equal to inverted commas, and inside inverted commas I'm going to pass value. So I'll write here option 1. So obviously I want same value in here that I have as label. After that, let's just save this one. Let's go back. Now if I just click on it, you can see now it is clickable. So basically we are done with the creation of our first radio button. Now let's create some more. So for that purpose, I'll simply copy this one. I'll paste it multiple times. Let's go for 4 and let's change the values in here. So I'll go for option 2, option 3, option 4, and obviously we have to change this one as well. So I'll go for option 2, option 3, option 4. So whenever we are going to click any one of these, it will store the relative value that we are going to pass in here. Now let's save this, let's go back. And now you see we have multiple radio buttons available and only one of them is selectable, or you can only select one of them from here. And now let's talk about the list and how we can use that. Well, first of all, just like other components that we have used till now for the material UI, we have to import some of the libraries. So I'll simply paste those libraries, and you can pause this video and you can paste it, or you can also get all those libraries from the official documentation. So I'll just paste them in here. So basically what I want to import list, list item, list item icons, list item text. List item icon will allow us to use icons for our lists, and then list item text will allow us to give some name, some labels, or some value for our list items that we are going to use. After that, we need another library that is called as box that will help us to box everything or box all the lists that we are going to use. Then we have a list item button. It will allow us to use buttons inside list. Then we have divider. Divider is something that will divide the section of our web page, which is just like horizontal line in HTML. Then we have drafts icon. This is nothing much, it's a simple icon that we are going to use in this video. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a list inside my function, inside my div. So what I'll do, I'll declare it under my checkbox. So I'll simply hit enter, and here I'll call my list. Here it is. After that, I'll just close this one. And inside my list, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call my list item. So I'll just call it in here. So I'll write here list item. Here it is. Let's just close this one. And inside our list item, we can have different things. I'm going for inbox icon. So I'll simply call that one in here. I'll write here inbox, and then I'll have icon. Let's just close this one. And inside my list item, I have to determine what kind of list item do I want. I want it to be a button. So I'll simply use that one. Now let's save this and let's head to our web browser and let's see how does it look like. Here we have an error and that says inbox icon is not defined. So let's go back. So basically we have to import that one here as well. So I'll simply copy this line. Let's just paste this one, and here I'll write inbox icon. Here it is. Let's just copy this one. Let's paste it at the end of it as well. Now let's save this one and let's go back to our web browser. And here you see we do have a list item available, and it's a kind of button. It is clickable as well. Apart from that, what we can do in here is we can wrap it up around list item icon. So for that purpose, I'll simply hit enter, and here I'll call list item icon. Here it is. Let me just close this one, and I'll just cut it from here and I'll paste it outside my inbox icon, just like this one. Let me have some indentation for this. Now it looks much better. And now it looks much better. As you can see, we have more area for this particular list item. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to paste it several times so that we can have more than one list item. Now let's have some kind of text for our list item, because at the moment we do not have any text. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call list item text, which is right here. Let's just close this one, and inside that I'll pass my text. So I'll write here primary, here it is, that will be equals to, and here we have to pass the value that we want to give to our list item. I'll name it as option 1, and here you see we have list item, and here we have the label for it as well. So it is working pretty fine. And this time let's add another list item. So I'll just copy this code from here, I'll paste it, and I'll change it in here. Let's go for option 2, and for that purpose let's go for option 2, and in here instead of inbox icon I want to have a different one. So as you know, we have imported drafts icon, so I'll use that one in here. So I'll simply call drafts icon, here it is, and now you see we have two buttons. First one is inbox, second one is draft. And let's go back, and why not change these values as well. So I'll write here inbox, and for the second one I'll go for drafts. So I'll write here drafts. Let's just save this and let's go back. And now this is how it looks like. Okay, what if I want to have a separation between my list items and my buttons? So for that purpose, we can use a property that is available in our Material UI. And if you see here, we have imported divider in here. So what I'll do here, I'll simply call it in here. So I'll just hit enter and I'll call divider. Let's just close this one. Let's just save it. And now here you see we have a small line that is dividing these two sections apart from each other. At the end, I want to show you one more thing, and that is, as we have this divider in here, it doesn't mean we cannot add more list items below it. Well, we can do so. Let's go back, and I'll simply copy this code from here. I'll paste it under my divider. Now, instead of drafts, let's have something else in here. I'll call it as third option, and let's keep it the same in terms of icon, which is draft icon. Let's save this, and now you see we have one more option as third option under the line. What we can do here, we can change everything from here. We can remove list item icon, which is drafts icon in here. I'll just remove this one. I'll remove list item icon, and we only need list item text, which will be third option. If I just save this, let's go back, and now you see we have a list item without icon and without list item icon. And it means we can use list icons only with the text as well. So that was all about the list items, and that was all about some of the main components of Material UI. At the end, I'll show you one very important and very interesting thing that we can do with the help of Material UI. And for that purpose, we'll head to the official website of Material UI. Here we are, and on the left hand side, we have different things available. We have installation, we have usage, example projects, and things like that. If you see here, we have templates available in here as well. If I just click on it, if you scroll down, we have different templates available that we can use. We have dashboard, we have sign in, we have sign inside. The difference is in this sign in, it will be on the right hand side, and on the left hand side we'll have a picture. Down here we have sign up, we have blog, example or template, then we have checkout, and we have some more. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to the source code of this sign inside. So I'll just click on it, it will open a GitHub repository for me. From here, I'll go to the signinside.js file, and from here what we can do, we can copy this code and we can use that into our project, and we can tweak it as per our liking. And as I have told you at the start of this video, that Material UI is an open source project, that is why we can use it without any problem. So let's just copy this one, and now I'll just paste it into my project. Here it is. I'll select everything. I'll paste the code that I have copied from my GitHub. Let's just save this one and let's go back to our web browser. And here you can see we have successfully used the design without any problem. We have all the text fields in here. We have a button in here. We have some links in here. Then we have the photo in here. It says we couldn't find that photo. It doesn't mean that it hasn't loaded the photo. Well, basically this is the photo that we get in the code by default. You can replace this photo with your own as well. So basically, this was a basic idea that how you can use Material UI and how you can use already available templates and projects for your own purposes. And that brings me to the end of this particular video. I hope now that you must have enjoyed watching this one, and if that is the case, do leave a like, subscribe and press the bell icon, And if you have anything to ask, do leave a comment below. I'll get back to you in the next video.